That was it. Thank you very much. Just kidding, just kidding. Welcome to Macon State Park, folks. This is a little special presentation we're going to be doing this afternoon for you. We normally in the summer have been doing an evening gun presentation right now at 4 o'clock every Wednesday afternoon. And this is our last evening gun presentation for the summer. So we are going to make it a little bit special and kind of expand that into a battery fire with all three of our 32-pounders here. So what I want to do, let me tell you about these cannons, and then we will go through and do a battery fire for you. First of all, in this fort there were as many as 54 cannons mounted outside and inside of varying calibers. And of the calibers that were here, many of them, 22 out of the 54, are what we call 32-pounders. And that's what these cannons are. They get the name 32-pounder because they fire a cannonball that weighed. You got it. These are medium caliber Seacoast Guns, and like I say, there were as many as 22 of these in Fort Macon back in the 1860s. And the cannon, as a weapon of war, is capable of firing a 32-pound cannonball at a range of 1,908 yards. Now, how far is that? Well, if you look out across the inlet across over here, you'll see an island over there called Shackleford Banks. 1,908 yards, by the way, is almost a mile and a quarter. So you can fire a cannonball all the way across to that island, which is 3/4 of a mile away, and hit about a quarter-mile inland on that island somewhere. So a little bit over a mile. That's what each of these things would be capable of doing. The cannons consist of three parts. You have the barrel that shoots, obviously, which is supported by an A-frame carriage with large wheels called the top carriage. And that sits on a chassis, wooden chassis that pivots from side to side. What you've seen the cannon crews do up to now is roll the cannon out of battery. This is the loading position, and we'll commence to load here momentarily. Just want to point out to you that we're not actually going to be shooting a real cannonball or real cannonballs across the inlet for obvious reasons. We'd be in big trouble doing that, and if you were a boat owner out there, it would not be good, and I'd have paperwork to do for the rest of my life, I'm sure. So we are doing blank charges, salute charges, but it gives you an idea of what it was like to fire and be in battle in this fort and be firing these big cannons. I want to call your attention to the gun crews here. With an arrangement with the Coast Guard base next to us, for Macon Coast Guard base over there. This is the third year that we have had Coast Guard volunteers come over and provide cannon crews for our programs on Wednesday afternoons. These folks have been working all day long, and then they come over every Wednesday afternoon to provide the cannon crews to fire these cannons for the state park so we can have programs like this, and without them we couldn't do this. They're volunteers, they're on their own time, they have studied manuals that the soldiers would have used back in the 1860s to fire a cannon like this. So what you see them doing is what soldiers back in the 1860s would have been doing when Fort Macon was actually in battle, doing artillery drill. So they have made these programs possible for us, so I think they deserve a big, big round of applause. Please do. We have all three gun crews present. We normally fire one cannon, but on this, the last event of the summer for the evening gun presentations, we are firing all three cannons, so all three gun crews are present here to do this for us. Now, like I say, what they've done up till now is roll the top carriage back out of battery. This is the loading position. What they will then do is take the powder charge, load it in the muzzle. Remember, these weapons are muzzle loaded. Everything is loaded. The muzzle has to be rammed down with these implements you see stacked beside each gun. The cannon will be swabbed out, powder charge will be put in, rammed down. Then the top carriage will be rolled forward into the firing position, which is called in battery. And once the top carriage is rolled in battery, you'll see the gunner mount the carriage. He will aim it. They'll swing from side to side to bring the guns on target. Then the cannon will be fired. Now, when you fire a cannon like this, got to tell you this now, this is not like you normally see in the movies. When you fire these old cannons in the movies, don't you always see a little fuse or wig thing sticking out of the top? You stand there with your big matches, or if you're Clint Eastwood, your cigar, and light the fuse and boom, the cannon fires. Now, is that the way it is really done in history? No. That, my friends, is Hollywood, and it is historically incorrect. Cannons are fired with a detonator called a friction primer. The primer is inserted in the hole on top of the cannon. Number 3 cannon will have a firing cord called a lanyard attached to the primer. Now, at the command's fire, he will jerk the lanyard, detonating the primer, which in turn detonates the powder bag. Boom, the cannon fires. That is how this works, not with a little fuse thing or a wick, like you always see in the movies. So anyway, we will be doing this as a battery fire. Now, I also want to point out to you that you're kind of lucky to see this, because I don't know of any place in the United States today where you will see 3 or a battery of large Seacoast cannons like this firing in a demonstration. You might see 1, you might see some little field guns, several of them fire, but I don't know of anywhere in the United States that you will see 3 large Seacoast cannons firing as a battery. Now, when I say battery fire, a battery is a grouping of cannons together under a single command. In this case, the guns on this front of Fort Macon constituted a battery. When they would fire in battle, we can visualize an enemy warship trying to come in the inlet here. Fort Macon's job is to guard the inlet and prevent enemy warships from coming in during an attack. So if an enemy ship was to sail into the harbor here, sail through the inlet, these guns would open fire on them back in those days and blow them out of the water. So when we begin the battery fire, just picture an enemy ship trying to get into the inlet and these guns firing. When they fire, just imagine 96 pounds of iron flying towards you at 1,600 feet per second. That's what these things fire. So a ship out there would probably be blown out of the water very quickly. So we will begin loading process. Watch the artillery crews as they load the cannons with gunpowder charges. No cannonballs, again, no cannonballs. Roll the cannons back forward in the battery, set the primer, aim, then we will begin firing one after another. Here we go.